How's it going, y'all? Today I'm going to be trying a brand new mixed drink. Not of my invention, but of viewer recommendation. Because today I'm going to be drinking a whiskey and Guaraná Antarctica for the first time, which has been highly recommended by Brazilian viewers. How will it be? What will it actually be like? And what will I think of this mixed drink? I don't know, but I'm very excited to find out. And to say that my expectations are high is a bit of an understatement. Guaraná Antarctica is one of the most iconic sodas from Brazil. And while visiting Brazil, I tried a can of it for the first time and ended up really enjoying it. In my opinion, the Guaraná Antarctica has a flavor almost like that of a Shirley Temple, but with a little bit more of a caramel flavor. It's, in my opinion, a very high quality, a very nice to drink, and just in general, a very good soda. I tried some Guaraná Antarctica with cachaça, a type of Brazilian liquor, while visiting Brazil, and I thought that was a solid mixed drink. But apparently, when mixing alcohol with the Guaraná Antarctica, cachaça is actually not the most common choice of liquor. Instead, that would go to whiskey. Apparently, normally, Scottish whiskey, specifically the Johnnie Walker Red, to be precise. Now, I don't have any Johnnie Walker Red with me today, but I do nonetheless have some whiskey, in specific, the Evan Williams Bottled in Bond, which has, in my opinion, a really nice marshmallow, s'mores, caramel, brown sugar flavor, and a flavor that overall I think is going to pair pretty well with the Guaraná Antarctica. I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and grab my cup that I have with me today, which of course is the Copo Americano. I don't think there's any better glass to enjoy this mixed drink in than the one I have with me right now. And now that I have my glass, I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and crack open my can of the Guaraná Antarctica. Take a quick sip of it, because what I have with me today is the American version, not the Brazilian version. See if there's any differences in flavor, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get to mixing my first whiskey and Guaraná Antarctica, and I'm going to find out just how this mixed drink actually is. But before any of that, I first off actually need to thank the sponsor of today's video, which just so happens to actually be me. That's right, I am the sponsor of this video today, as my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, is out and available now. Are the poems within my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, good poems? No, they are not. But they are good poems to read while smoking cigarettes. And if you guys would like to check out my new poetry book, you can find links to it in the description and comments down below. It's available now on Amazon for $14.99, and of course, I do highly recommend it. Now that I've gone through the sponsored segment of today's video, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and crack open my soda as said, and go ahead and take a sip of the American version of the Guaraná Antarctica for the very first time. Hopefully it tastes the same. I am really hoping that it tastes the same, but there's only one way to find out, and so as such, let's crack it open, y'all. Just like that. And let's go ahead and give it a quick smell. And overall, I'm going to have to say, it smells, more so than not, the same as what I experienced in Brazil. Maybe just a little bit more cherry-like than what I experienced in Brazil, but overall, smells very good. Let's take a quick small sip. And overall, I'm going to have to say, it tastes pretty much the same. Not identical by any means, but it tastes pretty much the same. Very Shirley Temple-esque, a little bit of caramel in there, lots of cherry kind of thing, lots of guarana fruit flavoring, I suppose, as well. That cherry flavor that I am tasting may very well actually be the guarana fruit flavoring, as that's, of course, the flavoring that is used in this soda right here, hence the name of it. Overall, tastes very good. I'm not going to say it's identical to the Brazilian version by any means, but it's certainly close enough for this experience, and I don't think I would get a particularly different experience if I was using a Brazilian Guaraná soda rather than the American version. I think I'm going to get pretty much an equivalent experience with this mixed drink today, to put it in the simplest terms. Without further ado, now let's go ahead and uncap my Evan Williams Bottled & Bond that I have with me. Let's go ahead and pour a little bit in my Copo Americano. And how much do I want to start off with for the first drink of this stream? I should be able to have, I think, probably two cups of this mixed drink with the amount of soda I have in the can. So I think I'm going to start off with, I'm going to start off a bit heavy with that much. If I want to have less for the next one, or if I want to have more for the next one, I can. But we're going to start off with this much, which is probably about a shot to shot and a half worth. And now that I've got that all in my glass, let's put the cap back on my whiskey. And let's go ahead and pour the rest of my glass full of Guaraná soda. Just like that. Man, oh man, let me tell y'all what, this looks really good. Now, before I take a sip, I do need to smell it and see if there is any whiskey smell peeking through. And I would definitely have to say there is some whiskey smell peeping through. There is definitely some whiskey smell coming through the smell of the Guaraná Antarctica. Overall, that's a surprisingly heavy whiskey smell, actually. The main smell I'm actually getting from this mixed drink is actually that of a sort of caramel brown sugar sort of smell with an undertone of a little bit of like just whiskey alcohol. And then under that is the sort of like cherry-like guarana fruit sort of smell. Very, very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I was totally expecting the Guaraná Antarctica to cover up the smell of the whiskey a little bit more than it does, but to my surprise, that was not the case. Not a bad sign, though, by any means. Let's go ahead and take a sip of this mixed drink for the first time and find out just how it really is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying, All right. Okay. All right. I think I can say, while the Evan Williams Bottled & Bond was not a bad choice for this beverage, I think a whiskey that is a bit more creamy might actually be a better choice, kind of thing. I don't know if Jack Daniel's would be a better choice. Maybe because that whiskey is a little bit more fruity in my personal opinion. There's really no sort of fruity-esque flavors to the Evan Williams Bottled & Bond. It very much is a marshmallow, s'mores, brown sugar, molasses, caramel type of flavor. But I think Jack Daniel's might be a better choice for this mixed drink, just right off the bat. And while I have never had the Johnnie Walker Red in the past, I do need to try that whiskey at some point in the future. If it's got a more creamy flavor to it, I do think it would pair better with the Guaraná Antarctica. And if it's actually got more of a creamy flavor to it, I can totally see why that is the choice of whiskey for this mixed drink, and that absolutely does make sense. But overall, even with a whiskey that, in my opinion, is not the perfect pairing with the Guaraná Antarctica, this is still a very, very, very solid mixed drink. Definitely would be better with a different whiskey. And I think for my next drink, I might actually go get my Jack Daniel's and see how a Jack Daniel's and Guaraná Antarctica is as well during this video, because I think it would be good to get a comparison of a different whiskey with this soda. But overall, yeah, the flavor, in my opinion, is that of a Guaraná Antarctica flavor. That sort of Shirley Temple, a cherry, guarana fruit flavor with an undertone of caramel. And then that undertone of caramel combines really well with the undertone of caramel from the Evan Williams Bottled & Bond. And then it goes into the brown sugar and molasses. And then after that, you get a little bit of that sort of, I would have to say, sort of cream marshmallow flavor in there, just a little bit as well kind of thing. Overall, this is a very, very, very tasty tasty soda. Well, Guaraná Antarctica is a very tasty soda, but this is a very, I get more jaw jumbled up. Is the buzz already starting to hit? I feel like I've got a burp. Excuse me. This is a very tasty mixed drink, is what I was trying to say. So yeah, overall flavor-wise, I would definitely have to say the most significant flavor in this mixed drink is that of the Guaraná Antarctica, for sure. No question in my mind. But number 2 is the whiskey. The Guaraná Antarctica by no means covers up the flavor of the whiskey. It very much complements it. It very much complements it. Now, would I say that this mixed drink is truly better than the mixed drink I had made with the Guaraná Antarctica while in Brazil, which was a cachaça and Guaraná Antarctica? Is this truly better? I'm not going to say it's better, but it's different. And I will say I do think I like how the soda and the whiskey complement each other just a little bit more than I liked the cachaça and Guaraná Antarctica and how they complemented each other. This is a very solid drink. This is a very solid drink, and one that I think is definitely made better with the right whiskey. If you use the wrong whiskey with this drink, I don't think it's going to be nearly as good as it could otherwise be. Hence why, for the next one, I'm going to be bringing out my Jack Daniels. But before I take my final sip of my first drink, and before I go ahead and grab my Jack Daniels from inside, I do first off want to grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail real quick. So let's see if I can do that. Well, hopefully one of those will do as a thumbnail for the video. Without further ado, let's go and take my final sip of my first drink, and let's go ahead and grab my Jack Daniels. I'll be right back in just a moment, y'all. Alright, and we are back. We are back. I now have my classic good old Jack Daniels number 7. Let's go ahead and pour myself a little bit of a glass of the Jack Daniels number 7. And let's go ahead and pour some Guaraná Antarctica on top of it and find out if the Jack Daniels pairs a little bit better with the soda I have with me today than the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, which I do think is a strong possibility. There we go. Got some whiskey in my glass. Let's go ahead and now put that down on the ground and go ahead and fill up the rest of my glass. And man, we actually still have a little bit left over as well. I might be able to have like a quarter of a drink as my third drink per se. Let's go and smell this real quick. Definitely, in my opinion, of course, Jack Daniels, being a different whiskey from the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, does smell a little bit different. And I would have to say, it's definitely giving off a more fruity flavor than the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond was. Overall, just based off the smell, I think this is going to be a better pairing. Only one way to find out, though. Let's go ahead and find out. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying, Yeah, I'm gonna have to say it's a better pairing. I'm gonna have to say Jack Daniels with the Guarana is definitely a better pairing. Not the perfect whiskey pairing, but I also do think I added a little bit too much Jack Daniels. But overall, a very solid pairing nonetheless, and I will admit the Jack Daniels, in my opinion, is definitely a better pairing with the Guaraná Antarctica than the previous whiskey I used was. Definitely, in my opinion, Jack Daniels has more of a fruity flavor to it, but it's still got that sort of caramel going on. And overall, it's definitely a better pairing with the Guaraná Antarctica, for sure, no question in my mind. Now that I have tried this mixed drink with a whiskey that I really do think actually fits this mixed drink, though, kind of what are my thoughts on this mixed drink? Is it one that I really like, that I could drink all the time, that I am a fan of? I like this mixed drink. But personally, I can't say that I like it as much as Jack and Cokes. But I do like this mixed drink. It's very solid. But I can't say I like it as much as Jack and Cokes. I can't say I like it as much as Jack and Ginger Ales. I can't say I like it as much as whiskey and Dr. Pepper in general, kind of thing. But it's a good mixed drink nonetheless. A very solid mixed drink nonetheless. I definitely do think this is a mixed drink that you do like half a shot of whiskey and then a full can of Guarana with, though. I think doing like half a shot and then like half a can, I don't know. I feel like you definitely do need a good amount of the Guarana for this mixed drink. I don't know. I've kind of got to think a little bit. I do think. So, I think I may very well have one of these, pair one of these with the beverage I have with me today, and think just a little bit. I think some thinking might do me some good as to what I want to be my final thoughts. And I also want to find out how one of these pairs with my beverage as well. Oh man, this is so nice with the Guaraná Antarctica though. This is a good pairing with this beverage, I'm not gonna lie. This is an amazing pairing. Yeah, no, this is very solid. This is a very solid pairing. Yeah. No. This product and some Guaraná Antarctica, man oh man, it's like chocolate and strawberries. It's like peanut butter and jelly. I don't even like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so I'm not sure why I use that comparison, but, well, actually, I've never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before. I know it might seem hard to believe, but that's the truth of the matter. I have genuinely not had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before. My parents are fans of them, and they always tried making them for me when I was a kid and stuff like that kind of thing, but I don't know. Something about the flavor of peanut butter just made me go, I don't want it on bread, and I don't want it mixed with jelly. I've always been a fan of like peanut butter cookies. I love peanut butter cookies. I love peanut butter truffles. I love peanut butter fudge. But I don't like just normal peanut butter out of the jar and everything like that kind of thing. And I don't know. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich has never really been attractive to me, so it's actually a sandwich I've never had before. Should probably try one of those eventually. Maybe I'll have to. Overall, though, I can say with certainty, this pairs very well, and that this product right here pairs like chocolate and strawberries with the Guaraná Antarctica. Pairs like, what's a better comparison? Pairs like, rice and water. I don't have a good comparison. Nothing is coming to mind right now. But what is the optimal product to enjoy with this mixed drink? It's absolutely a Brazilian paeiro. There's no question in my mind. Yeah, no question about that at all. Whiskey and Guaraná Antarctica, though. What is my true final thoughts on this mixed drink, which I'm enjoying, appreciating, and trying for the first time today? It definitely needs the right whiskey. If you don't use the right whiskey, it's not going to be an ideal beverage in my personal opinion. And you definitely want a whiskey that just very much disappears into the flavor of what you're having, unless you want a lot of that whiskey flavor to come through. Now, the Guaraná Antarctica, don't get me wrong, it very much tones down the intensity of the whiskey, the hit of the whiskey, and definitely the buzz coming from this beverage is really nice. I am getting a buzz. That sugar and alcohol is really good together. But the whiskey flavor, it kind of just sticks out like a sore thumb, at least with the ones I have made today. It doesn't pair exceedingly well with the Guaraná Antarctica. It's good. This is a good mixed drink. But it's not perfect. And I think the reason it's not perfect is a fault of mine, because I'm not using the whiskey that this mixed drink is known to utilize. I'm using the wrong whiskey, and I think that's the reason why I'm not having as good of an experience as I might otherwise be having. I don't know. Is that just me? What do y'all think if y'all have tried this mixed drink before? Does the choice of whiskey really matter just that much for this mixed drink? Or is what I'm experiencing really how this mixed drink is? But it's like sip to sip as well. Some sips will be like, man, this is really dang good. And some other sips will be like, yeah, it's solid, kind of thing. So I would say the flavor of this mixed drink is very much that of a sweet, fruity... Well, let me try that again. So the flavor of a whiskey and Guaraná Antarctica is very much that of a sweet, slightly citrus, fruity, cherry, guarana fruit flavor with an undertone of caramel, and then that caramel leads into the caramel coming from the whiskey, which then leads into a little bit of brown sugar, and then for the Jack Daniels, it leads into a different fruity flavor. And that's very much what the flavor of this mixed drink is with Jack Daniels. Interesting. Well, I've got just a little bit left, so I think the only proper thing for me to do is to drink the rest of it and enjoy a little bit more. that is the amount of whiskey that I've poured. And this is going to be very whiskey heavy because there was not much soda left. Let's take a sip of my third drink, though. Oh yeah, and with this one, I can absolutely say for sure, you need a bunch of guarana. You need a bunch of guarana when you're making this mixed drink, for sure. And I think that might be what I've been doing wrong all throughout this video. I think the simple fact of the matter is that, A, I probably wasn't using the right whiskey, and I think that, B, I wasn't using enough soda. If I was using more soda, I think that this would have been better as a whole. And I think that my experience today would have been better as a whole. But having never had this soda before, I don't know if I made this right. I don't know if I made this wrong. And so I'm going to be relying on y'all to let me know in the comments below. Of course, I got to drive that viewer engagement up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? I saw a hummingbird for the first time in years when I was going for a walk yesterday. And it was so cool. It was just flying around and I was like, bro, that's a hummingbird? That's awesome. They burn like 1 billion calories a minute. That's insane, kind of thing. Hummingbirds are really cool birds in my opinion. They're pretty neat. And they're not a bird I think about a lot just because I don't see them very often in my local area. It's like owls. Like I've seen like 3 owls in my entire life. Like they're not uncommon in my local area. I hear the owl hoots every once in a while kind of thing. No owl hoot to prove my point though. So maybe they're more uncommon than I was thinking. But I see hummingbirds even less than owls in my local area. I've seen hummingbirds like twice in my entire life. So it's really cool. It was really cool to see one yesterday. I'm not gonna lie. That was a really cool experience to see one flying around, looking for some nectar and everything like that kind of thing. Excuse me. Definitely a bit whiskey heavy on the final drink. And overall, my general consensus for this beverage that I've experienced for the first time today is that when making it, you definitely want to use one, the right whiskey. Evan Williams Bottled and Bond is not the right whiskey. Jack Daniel's is a bit closer, but I don't feel like it's quite perfect. I feel like there's a perfect whiskey for this mixed drink, and that's not what I had today. Probably the Johnny Walker Red or something along those lines is the perfect whiskey for this beverage. But overall, a solid drink. Like definitely you need the right whiskey for it. And definitely you need to use a bunch of guarana as well kind of thing. You absolutely need to use a bunch of it for this beverage. It isn't something you can pour, not care about what you're pouring, not care about how much you pour, and it's just going to be a solid beverage kind of thing. You need to think a little bit about this drink. Overall, I think with testing, this could very easily be an 8 to 9 out of 10 mixed drink to experience on a warm summer day or even on a cold winter evening kind of thing. I think that this would be a solid beverage any time of the year, honestly. I think, honestly, though, spring would be the optimal choice for this mixed drink, though. But as far as it goes for what I experienced today, I'm going to have to give this drink a very solid 7 out of 10. Not perfect. Could use some tweaking, for sure. But pretty dang good nonetheless. Yeah, I think a 7 out of 10 for this mixed drink is definitely deserving. Definitely deserving, if you ask me. Based off this experience, Which do I think is better? Cachaça and Guaraná Antarctica? Or whiskey paired with it instead? Based off my memory, I do think I prefer the cachaça with this soda right here. I do think I prefer it. But I see why people enjoy whiskey with it instead. The flavor of the whiskey complements the flavor of the Guaraná Antarctica just a little bit better. But in my opinion, the Guaraná Antarctica doesn't cover up the flavor of whiskey as well as it does with cachaça. Yeah, overall, a 7 out of 10 beverage, in my opinion. And I want to clarify, that's not a bad rating. As said, I think with tweaking, this would be much better. But a 7 out of 10 for the personal experience I had today. Yeah. Very, very, very glad to have tried this mixed drink. This is a mixed drink that I've wanted to try ever since reading over some comments from y'all saying that this is a pretty solid drink to have. And I'm very glad to have tried it for the very first time today and to have found out just how this beverage actually is. Is it one that I would have again? With the right whiskey? Absolutely yes. Is this a beverage that I would have with the whiskey I had today? Again? Probably not, no. But is the Guaraná Antarctica a soda that I want to try with more liquors in the future? Yes, absolutely. Kind of want to try it with Everclear. I think it could be very good with Everclear. I think it could be really good with Everclear, I'm not going to lie. No saying anything for sure. But that's something I need to try in the future. And that might be something I very well have to do. Overall, very glad to have tried this mixed drink today. And very glad to have paired it with one of these. I'm going to take a couple more hits, and I think that's going to be the video right there. Well, I can say with certainty that even though I wouldn't classify this as having been the optimal experience by any means, that this nonetheless was a good experience. I have enjoyed myself today, and I am very glad to have enjoyed, to have appreciated, to have tried a whiskey and Guaraná Antarctica for the very first time today. Is this something I want to try again in the future with a more proper whiskey? Yes, absolutely. What is that whiskey? I don't know, but let me know what it is in the comments below. Is it Johnny Walker Red, like I'm thinking it is? I don't know. Let me know. Appreciate all y'all watching today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching. If you guys have, of course, like, subscribe, and make sure to check out my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, available now for $14.99 on Amazon. You can find the link in the description and comments down below to it. Highly recommend, of course. And, of course, as well, make sure to have a great rest of y'all's day and stay safe and peace and just have a great one in general. Thank you so much for watching.